top 3 life lessons you've learned? K.R. Cronin, you have asked a question. What are the top 3 life lessons you've learned? From whom and why were they so important? This feels like not enough time to think through the answer to this, but off the top of my head, in the interest of giving an immediate answer, my top 3 life lessons, the first 2 come immediately to mind. The first one is be kind. Be kind. Put kindness into all of your interactions with people. Even if you are a narcissistic jerk and what you want is all the success for yourself, it's still the right business sense to be kind to everyone that you meet. Yeah, there's no percentage in being a dirtbag, and yeah, there's no percentage in it in my opinion. So being kind, that is absolutely one of the most top tier first level. Another life lesson that I have learned over the years from all the different, I don't know that anyone specifically taught me this. It's a combination of having been married twice, divorced once, raising 2 kids. I've been in therapy for much of my life. And I think one of the most important life lessons I continue to learn is it's not about me. You know, we're all the stars of our own movie, but it's not about us. It's not about us. And a corollary, you're better off realizing that it's not about you. I don't mean you, I mean me. Life lessons that I have learned. I have learned to constantly hold the frame that it is not about me, and that if I am holding that frame, I am kinder and I serve the people that I love better. And service is absolutely my love language, like doing things for other people, taking my time to go do stuff. Being kind, it's not about you. I'm not sure I have a third one right away. But both of those make me better professionally. They make me better personally. I mean, you know, the corollary to being kind is I like being easy to work with. Not to say that I'm a walk in the park, but who is? But at the same time, you know, we all have a choice about how we spread the stress in our lives around. And being easy to work with, I think, is largely about localizing the stress you're feeling to yourself and not spreading it to others needlessly. And that also dovetails perfectly with it's not about you, right? I'm gonna have to think about that third one. Maybe we'll end up cutting this video and make it a separate video, and I'll come up with a third one. But those first two are, you know, the rule of 3s is just a literary rule. Things don't have to travel in 3s. I only have 2 for you right now. CW Arts says, I have recently run into an issue where I'm entering a large juried art competition. And by large, they mean they have to figure out how to convert a 24 by 36 pencil and paper drawing into something that can be blown up to the size of a billboard. And they were wondering, have you ever tackled an issue that seemed so overwhelming and impossible? And if so, what did your process look like? It's a wonderful question. And, you know, as we get better at the things that we do, no matter what they are, whether they're making or any other thing, any other discipline, when we seek to pursue being good at something, a key piece of that is taking on challenges that seem overwhelming and impossible, and both succeeding and failing at those. Both are important. I don't trust people who haven't failed because it means they've never pushed themselves outside their comfort boundaries. And a lot of times I've gotten into trouble with those kinds of people. They don't know how to smell failure. Thus, they tend to be buck passers. And by that, I mean they don't take responsibility for their mistakes. They like to pawn it off on someone else. But I'm going to go all the way back to Taoism here and quote Lao Tzu and say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This is how you tackle something that seems impossible. You start with, okay, what do you know? I'll give an example. Hold on. Here's a piece of hardwood I scavenged off of a pallet that something got delivered on recently. And let us say that I wanted to do something that's way outside my experiential range and make a really realistic looking fish out of this, like a pike, let's say. I don't know how to sculpt a pike out of wood. I've never done it before. The idea, frankly, scares me because I am not an organic. Organic forms are not my specialty. But I know it would start. Where do I begin? Well, it begins with a picture of a pike, to be sure. Okay, so I get a picture of a pike. Well, maybe that picture of the pike should be printed out to be the size that I needed on this board. Okay, that's step 2. Okay, now I have something. Step 3, let's cut it out, but not exactly. Give myself a little room to move, but I can cut it out. Okay, that's step 3. Well, step 4 might be cutting it out on the other plane so that I have a lot of the form already done with the bandsaw before I start coming in with whatever other tools I might bring to bear. Is a carving knife something I should use? Or a Dremel? Or a combination of both? Should I grab an angle grinder? I don't know. Those questions are too far in advance for me to consider. But I do know like at least 2 or 3 things right now. And so I would submit to you, you're going to take a drawing that is 24 by 36. You say you have 500 hours in this drawing. And you're wondering if you can blow it up to the size of a billboard. So I don't know if you have digital scanning technologies or if that's not appropriate or if that's not how you want to do it. I am not sure. But within the impossibility of this task, I submit that there is at least one thing that you do know, like where it begins. And that's how I approach something that I don't know how to do. I start with the next thing that I can see to do. You don't have to know how to finish something. You just have to know what the next step is. That's the key to tackling something you've never tried before. Do you still know what the next step is? And you may get to a point where you don't know what the next step is. That totally happens to me. So then I'll watch YouTube videos or I'll go research in books that I've got, and I'll take a look at pictures and I'll try and learn what I can about the next step. Or I take a step that I think is the next step, but I'm not sure and I screw it up and I have to start from scratch. That also totally happens. Failure, like abject failure, is a totally intrinsic part of the process at getting better at stuff. It's not good. It doesn't feel good. You don't want to fail a client. You don't want to fail a piece that you've fallen in love with. And yet you're going to, because we all do. Like, that's just part of being a person. So how do you tackle an issue that seems overwhelming and impossible? One tiny step at a time. One tiny step at a time. And just as I was saying earlier about like reaching out to mentors with specific questions, at the very beginning of a project like making something billboard size, talking to a billboard painter, if they still exist and are alive, because it's been a long time since people hand-painted billboards, but I'm sure it's still happening somewhere. You might not have any idea where to even start asking questions, but if you start doing something and you fail at it, I guarantee you're going to have some important questions. And when you reach out to a mentor to ask about that thing that you failed about, they will have failed at something really similar. You will have chewed on a lot of the same mud. And that's a phrase that I grabbed from an old Clint Eastwood movie. Not a great one either. I can't even remember what it's called. It's the one with Mario Van Peebles. Heartbreak Ridge! That's what it is. At one point, Clint Eastwood runs into an old general, and they had been in a lot of the same conflicts, and Eastwood says, "We've chewed on a lot of the same mud." And I love that phrase. Frankly, the point of conversation you're going to find with experts in the thing you're learning how to do is going to be in the failures more than the successes. And those are going to be where all the interesting stories are and where all the interesting perspective is. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.